All right, my name is Samuel George, and this is part 3 of Assignment 3 for Comp533. In this part, we're going to do non-synchronized command broadcast using two clients with different IPC mechanisms. We're going to use breakpoints to show inconsistencies created by using these two, and we're going to correct the mistake using synchronized command broadcast. Okay, so to start out, I've started up a server, and we're going to turn what I call race checking off, which allows it to be not synchronized. Okay, and then we're going to go into client 1. We're going to start him up, and we're going to change his mechanism to NIO. Okay. All right, so he wants to set everybody's mode. He sets his own mode, and we're done. Okay. All right, now we're going to start up client 2 that's using GIPC. So he's going to start. Okay, this is our GIPC client. Okay. All right, so just to go ahead and demonstrate, let's do a example with both of them. Okay, so you can see with the one on the left, he gets a property change event, and eventually the NIO server thread is going to write back the command, writes back to him, and writes back to the second client. Okay, and then just to prove further, this one uses GIPC. He gets a property change event, and this time he's going to send command using GIPC in the typical mechanism. We can see the server is getting ready to respond with his telling each client to move. Okay, so that's how they both behave. Now, in the event, for example, that someone were to say move 100, 100 here, okay, we see that property change event, and the server is getting ready to, NIO server is getting ready to write back. Now, for example, what if someone wants to use the second client using GIPC, says, hey, I would like to take one. Okay, so he sends and says echo string to both. All right, and now we see the situation, the race condition begins. So we have the NIO thread, which is running simultaneously with the Gypsy server thread. Okay, so the take one is trying to be processed, as well as the move 100, 100. So let's say, for example, this mechanism, this move 100, 100, has one success. Okay, that's it ran through, it sent its move 100, 100. However, in the meantime, maybe the server is able to send the take one to both clients. In the time it sent take one to both clients, this one says I cannot take it because I've already moved. He's already responded to the first NIO start, and the second one here has taken one. Okay, and that thread finishes out. Now the broadcasting NIO server is going to write again and write the move. Okay, so we can see the inconsistency we've created here because the NIO thread arrived at a different time than the GIPC thread. Since they aren't coordinated, you can get any number of inconsistencies here. They could have both moved, and the take would have failed for both. This one could have taken one, and this one have taken one, and then they move, or you could have gotten the vice versa, where this one moved first, and then this one took, and they were off. Either way, this is an inconsistency that can happen. So let's go ahead and restart, and this time we're going to do it using race condition checking and thread coordination. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our server, and this time we're going to say yes, we want to do communicating commands and check for race conditions. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to start client 1. Okay, and NIO has to use, so the way the lock actually works on NIO is when it gets ready to read or write from a channel, it obtains the lock so that other processes can't read and write at the same time back to the clients. Because of this, anytime it gets ready to do an accept or whatever, it takes the lock and releases the lock. The GIPC mechanism only grabs the lock if it's going to specifically write to the channel. This has to do with basically the way NIO works. So we've opened this client here. we're going to change his mode again to NIO. Okay, again, because it uses a selector thread, it's going to take and lift the lock. Okay, so now this one's using NIO, and we're going to start up a second client using GIPC. Okay, and again, it has to connect the NIO connection, so it's going to get and take the lock. Okay, so now we've got both processes started. Let's just do the same little quick demo we did before. So now we're going to say move 50 minus 50. We see that in this case, we get an action event. It owns the lock, writes to both channels, and they both move. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing that we did with the client 2. So we're going to say move 50, negative 50, and we'll see that it uses property change event, echo to the servers. The server is waiting, casting NIO, and the GIPC server broadcast that move to both people, and there we go. So we're in the same position we were last time. One's using GIPC and one using NIO. However, with race checking, what we're going to see that is as soon as this one gets a command, the NIO thread is going to lock out the other thread from using. So, for example, now if I do the same thing I did before and say move 100, 100, I get that property change event. It's read the 100, 100 off the channel, and it's going to unlock. Okay, and now he's waiting again to write to the channel. So he's trying to write his move 100, 100 just as before. However, as we can see, he owns the lock. This means that, for example, if I do a take one, okay, we get the same property change event. The proxy server tries to echo, and now we see that thread is not available to continue. Why is that? That's because this guy owns the lock, okay, and he is not, the NIO thread owns the lock and has not relinquished it. So this one's take one is not queued up. Now what we're going to see is when we continue this process, the move 100, 100 is going to occur for both clients. They're both going to move, and then the lock is going to be relinquished. As soon as the lock is relinquished, the GIPC thread can now wake up, having obtained the lock, and now they can send take one. Now, of course, take one does not work since the move came in first, but we don't have that same inconsistency, and the same inconsistency can't be created because only one of the send back mechanisms can actually own the lock at once. So you see he's going to send to both and release his lock. Okay. So this shows the launching the NIO server. We showed that with breakpoints, the inconsistency that was created, and then we explained what happened, and then we repeated the process with a synchronized broadcast and showed that the inconsistency was resolved. And these two, using the exact same steps, were not able to create an inconsistency. So what's different is whenever NIO gets ready to write or do anything on a channel, it holds the lock, whereas GIPC, anytime it gets ready to send information, it also owns the lock, in which case NIO cannot work. And that is part 3 of assignment 3.